But of course, we'll do a blend of a little bit of everything. Awesome. And we've got Karen just joining us. Welcome. Good morning. Alrighty, y'all. So I'm going to put us on mute for now, but at any time during class, you may unmute yourself. You may use our chat box down below to communicate with me. I do keep an eye on you guys, an eye on the screen. And we're going to get started. And I think we're going to start like I like to normally do, and that's lying down on our backs. This feels good. I like to start where we finish and finish where we start. So let's move over to our mats. Props that you may want to have if you have them nearby. Pillows or bolsters. Additional cushions and support. A yoga belt. Yoga blocks. Towels and blankets always come in handy. And if you don't have all those things, don't worry about it. And if you have more stuff, chairs, other stuff that you might want to bring into your practice, you are more than welcome to do so. So I invite you to just lie flat towards the floor. However, we can add props that will make this a little bit more comfortable for us. So some of us might need to take a little extra cushion behind our head or extra cushion underneath the knees. You're always welcome to keep your knees bent up towards the ceiling. So when we come on down here, we'll want to organize ourselves towards the middle of our mat, lengthen out that low back, work our way down. Like I said, if you want to keep your knees bent up, better for our backs, please do so. Some people like to go right into Supta Baddha Konasana and get a little bit into the hips. So drawing the soles of the feet to touch with the knees open. On a support will be a little bit more gentle version of that. Or giving those legs a nice stretch out and down the mat. Draw the shoulders down. Let's roll our arm bones open, palms up. Let those fingertips curl up. Continue to loosen things up. If you do have ponytails, we want to move them out of the way. Give the head a little rock side to side here just to start loosening up the neck. And then we're going to let the back of the skull settle into place here. Close the eyes. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose this morning. Fill the body up. And on our exhale, we're going to take a nice big breath out and just feel the whole body relax. Let's do that one more time. Nice deep breath in through the nose. Breathing in some fresh air, prana and energy this morning. And an equally big exhale to release stale old air and energy, to relax the body from the crown of the head down to the fingertips and toes. And then we'll start with a quick check-in with our physical body, taking a mental scan of the body. As we begin our practice today, we can acknowledge and be grateful for the help that we all had to find our yoga mats on our own this morning, for the ability that we have to move and breathe on our own. But as we move through our body, let's also honor and recognize any areas that we might be healing, physically, mentally, emotionally. Remembering that our yoga practice is preventative medicine from the inside out. An opportunity to recharge our batteries and to reconnect with what's really important. And then let's come back to that breath for a moment. And just observe and watch our body breathe. Noticing the subtle movement of the breath as it moves in and out of the body. Maybe that subtle difference in temperature between the inhale and exhale. We might even notice the difference in the flow of breath from the left nostril to the right nostril. And we make these observations without judgment or labeling any of it right or wrong. We're simply acting as a witness, looking from the outside in. And then let's just take one more nice big breath today. We'll let that breath move however it wants in our body. On the inhale, we generally feel a natural expansion. So we might notice that the abdomen rises, the rib cage stretches, and we can just fill ourselves up like we're filling up a nice cup of water all the way to the brim. And those exhales are just as important, and a natural contraction usually happens with them. So we'll notice that the rib cage comes a little closer together, the belly drops down into the body, and maybe we add a little contraction at the end of that exhale. Now we can stay connected to this nice, smooth, deep breath, or we can let the breath wander away wherever it wants at any time. And we're going to slowly come back to the physical body. So let's start by just waking up the toes, give them a little bit of a wiggle. Wiggle the fingertips, rock the head. If our knees happen to be open wide in Baddha Konasana, float the knees up together. And I do want us all to try to straighten and stretch out our legs down the middle of our mat. If you have a prop underneath the legs, we can keep it there for now. On our next inhale, we'll reach our arms up to the ceiling and all the way overhead. And we're going to enjoy our long body stretch for a couple breaths. So we're just lengthening out on our mat, point and flex those feet a couple times, spread the fingers, reach and lengthen through your right side a little bit more, reach and lengthen through that left side a little bit more. Just kind of whatever feels good, creating space in our body, front to back and side to side. Take one more big breath in. This time, let's flex the feet, pulling all of our toes towards our shin bones. Spread those fingers. We'll feel our back want to arch away from the ground, and that's okay. On the exhale, let's float those arms down. Step our feet in towards us. At this time, if we do have props underneath those legs, let's move it out of the way. Draw the belly in, and let's hug our knees into our body. Hands to knees or shins. Keep the feet parallel to each other, and let's just rock it out, giving our low back a little bit of a stretch. Take the hands behind those thighs, reach the legs up to the ceiling here, point, flex the feet in waterfall pose. Now we're just starting to move, so if the knees are deeply bent because we got those nice tight hamstrings, that's totally normal. But go ahead and take the hands and vigorously rub up and down those muscles this morning. We can start to put a little bit more effort into it, pressing the thighs forward into the hands. Just redirecting our blood flow and energy now. And then take a hold of the right thigh, point through the toes of the feet, and on our inhale, we're going to lower the left leg down towards the ground. Now, we may keep our left leg in a hover from the floor an inch or two, or we might drop the left leg all the way to the ground and anchor it there. And we're going to give our right side a little bit more TLC here. So if you can rub and massage into those muscles back there, that will create some heat and blood flow. A little bit more, we'll reach up with our hands towards our calf muscle and even float our head and shoulders up. Keep that low belly pulling in. Take a nice deep breath in. On the exhale, we're going to lower the head down and lower the right leg with control all the way down to the ground. And if your left leg's in a hover, go ahead and bring the left leg down. Once both legs are touched down, inhale, arms overhead. Take this nice big stretch. Flex the feet. Exhale, arms float down, walk the feet in. Pull the belly in to hug the knees and rock a little bit across that low back. Inhale, straighten both legs up, hands behind the thighs, point and flex the feet, waterfall pose. Hold on to the left thigh, point through the toes. Inhale, breathing, little core strength to lower the right leg towards the ground. You want to keep with that strengthening and stabilizing. The leg stays in a hover. If you need a little bit more stretching and grounding today, lower the right leg all the way to the floor. Rub into that left hamstring. Really important to get our hamstrings to lengthen, especially in the beginning of our day. It'll really help improve our spinal health, help take some discomfort and stiffness out of our low back. If you feel like we've got a little bit of space to move into, reach it up to that calf muscle, float the head and shoulders up. Keep that right leg grounded if it's to the floor or nice and stable if it's hovering. Big breath in. Exhale, we'll lower the head down again with control. Lower the left leg slowly to the floor. When that leg touches down, inhale both arms overhead, stretch it out. Now we're going to take one more pose here from our long body stretch. So open your arms as wide as the top of your mat. So they're reaching out like 45 degrees or so to the corners of the room. Open the legs as wide as the yoga mat. So from the ceiling, we should look like a capital letter X, or like our star pose. We're going to move into Ardha Chandrasana, half moon, sometimes called banana pose because it creates this crescent moon banana shape, and it'll stretch one side and then the other. So to begin, carefully float your right leg up and over to cross your right ankle on top of the left ankle. Now your hips and your low back stay flat to the floor, so your right hip should not have come away from the ground. You're just crossing right ankle on top of left ankle. Now we're going to reach our right arm over our head towards the left and take a hold of your right wrist with your left hand. So left hand is taking hold of the right wrist, and I'm going to gently encourage the right arm even more over to the left. Same thing here, your shoulders should be flat to the floor. That right shoulder shouldn't be peeling up away from the ground. So we're staying in the same lateral plane here. Now if you want, you can kind of rock your head over to the left a little bit. So our right side should be getting the stretch, and we should be in that crescent moon shape, Ardha Chandrasana. And we'll feel this through the waist, that rib cage, and the shoulder. Take a big breath in. On the exhale, we'll release the pose. So just slide your right arm back out. Carefully float the right leg back out. We should end up back in our capital letter X, or our star pose shape. Go ahead and reach out with 4 directions with the fingertips, flex the feet, and press the heels away from you. Big breath in. Exhale. Float the left leg up, swing it over so that the left ankle is crossed on top of the right ankle. Both feet should be over towards the right bottom corner of the mat. Slide the left arm overhead. Take a hold of the left wrist with the right hand, and then you can encourage that left arm to move a little bit further. Again, drop the left hip down if it's rolled up, so the hips and low back are flat to the floor. Keep your left shoulder grounded. We want to move laterally. The head may move a little bit to the right. Just enjoy this stretch here. Take a breath. One more big breath in. Really energetically see if you can open up the left side a little bit more through the waist, the rib cage, and shoulder. Exhale, release. Slide the left arm out. Hover the left leg back into our star pose. Reach out in 4 directions. Spread the fingers, flex the feet, spread the toes. Inhale. Exhale. Sweep your arms back down beside the body. Carefully step your feet back in towards the sit bones. Draw that low belly in and hug your knees in. And we'll give our back another little massage. Just rock it side to side. And then we'll bring our right arm beside the head, roll onto our right side, pausing for a moment before we come up. And then we'll press into the ground and bring the body all the way up to our seated position. All right, so we should feel a little taller and longer, and we want to maintain this throughout the rest of our practice. We are going to come into a seat, so I would recommend sitting up on some type of firm support. That might be a yoga block. I have my meditation cushion, a nicely folded blanket, whatever you have. We want to be able to prop up our sit bones so that our spine can be in a nice neutral tall position. If you're higher up, just add support for the knees. Any position in the legs that's comfortable. So Sukhasana, easy cross, Siddhasana, maybe soles of the feet touching. Do draw in through that low belly slightly so that you can help support the spine. We'll float our fingertips out to the side of our body here, turning the palms up to the ceiling. Big breath in through the nose. Let's reach those arms all the way up. Let's float the chin slightly up and look up. On the exhale, turn your palms out. Float the fingertips back down to the floor. Without rounding the back, just drop your chin down towards the chest, stretching out the root of the neck. Inhale, breathing. Nice big centering breath. Reach it up. You can gaze upwards. Exhale, float the fingertips back down. Don't round that back, but do try to drop the chin to the chest to stretch out the neck. One more time. Let's inhale those arms up. This time we're going to go right into our twist. On the exhale, rotate to your right. Drop that right fingertips down towards the left knee. Gently twist. We're just warming through the shoulders, the neck, and the head. Open the eyes wide and look to the furthest point behind you. Inhale, breathing. Pull the body all the way back up to center. Good. Keep this length. Exhale, rotate around the spine. Vertebra by vertebra. Shoulders and chin should stay parallel to the floor. Open the eyes, peek behind. Inhale up. We'll take it one more time to each side. Just gently wringing out the body, releasing those muscles through the back. The inhale will pull us up to center. And one more nice big exhale to bring it out to the left. Inhale, let's meet it back in center. Palms touch, exhale to our center. So those of us sitting cross-legged, I invite you at this point to switch up the cross of your feet because we do always tend to sit the same way. Find those sit bones. At this point, float the fingertips back out to the side. So there's really no weight in our hands, and if you're higher up, you might just be grazing the floor. Pull that low belly in. Inhale the right arm up. Keep that right sit bone rooted. Exhale, lean to the left for our lateral extension. You're actually going to hold our seated triangle a little bit longer today, so continue to breathe in the pose. So right sit bone pushing down, low belly pulling in and up. We're leaning on an invisible wall, so there should be no forward flexion or extension at this point. Lateral extension. The neck should remain long, and our gaze can stay forward. We might be able to turn our drishti down to that bottom hand to give our neck a little different of a stretch, or look upwards towards our top hand. And now at this point, there will be a little bit of weight in that left hand. We're going to take one more breath here. Now our next inhale, take your time, float that right arm up. Exhale, float the fingertips back down beside the body. One centering breath with both arms. Inhale, both arms up. Exhale, fingertips to the floor. Root the sit bones, pull in and up through the lower abdominal muscles. Inhale, left arm up, straight up towards the ceiling beside the ear. On the exhale, you're moving in that lateral plane. Don't let the hip come up, push the hip down even more. So we feel this pulling up through the hip, the waist, the ribs, all the way through to the fingertips. And again, keep your heart open, facing forward, but we might be able to turn our head down, see how that feels for our neck. Gazing forward or upwards, as long as the neck stays long. And you can have weight, like I said, in that right hand. One more breath, seated triangle pose. Our next inhale pulls us up, so use your muscles. Exhale, float the left fingertips down to the ground. One more centering breath, both arms, inhale up. Join your palms together and exhale to our center. So we'll make our transition to all fours or tabletop at this point. You may crawl forward or just stretch your legs out this morning, whatever works best for you and your body. And then we'll get reorganized on our yoga mat. So remember, we want to be stacking our joints here. Fingers are wide, hands as broad as our shoulders. Knees are stacked directly underneath the hips. So the arms and the thigh bones, the legs of the table, our back is the tabletop. And we want to keep our tabletop nice and level and strong the whole time. Tuck the toes under if you want more of a stretch for the soles of the feet, or point the toes for flexibility in the ankles. Some flexion and extension, cat-cow. Inhale, relax the belly. Create space through the spine, lifting from the tailbone to the crown of the head. Exhale, draw that tailbone under. Pull the belly in, tuck the chin to the chest, and look to the navel. Inhale, anterior tilt in the pelvis, sink the belly and the heart, gazing forward or upwards. Exhale, posterior tilt in the pelvis, round the back, expand the back of the heart, look to the belly button. Now try to let the breath guide you, because the breath will have an effect on our diaphragm and the rib cage, so that will either assist the pose or make it feel a little different. You can always take whatever breath feels most natural for you. But generally we inhale into extension and back bend to create that space, and exhale into our contractions, because when we exhale, we're pulling those abdominal muscles in. Feel a little loosening now in the hips, the low back, around those shoulder blades and neck. We'll balance ourselves out and meet back in neutral position, all fours. And I want us to give our low back another quick stretch before we do a little bit more work today. So let's move into our first child's pose. We can slide the big toes to touch, open our knees wider than our hips, drawing the hips down to the heels, sitting back, and then sinking the belly, the heart, and the head to the floor. So if we want more of an active stretch for the shoulders, and the head is touching the ground, really reach through the index fingers towards the front corners of your yoga mat, but you'll have some dynamic tension as you pull the sit bones to the heels. If for whatever reason your head is not making contact with the ground today, slide your fists under the forehead, arms, or a yoga prop. Knee people, keep your hips slightly elevated if that's too much compression or causes any discomfort for the knee joints, or sit back on another prop. And then we just let the head sink towards the ground. We try to release the low back muscles around the hips, and take another breath or two here. Child's pose. And the next inhale, let's float the head and the body up. We're going to drop the knees back underneath the hips, a few inches apart. And let's have our toes tucked under, the arms are strong. So we're going to come into a variation of modified side plank pose. Let's start by taking the left foot and kickstand it out towards the long edge of your yoga mat. From here, extend the right leg straight back from the hip. So I still have equal weight in my hands. My right leg is extended straight behind my hip. You can flatten out that left foot if that feels better for you. Now we're going to press through the ground through that left hand, start to take weight off of our right hand. Now I'm going to start to roll my right hip up and my right shoulder. So my left knee is still underneath my hip, my left wrist is still underneath my shoulder. For some of us, just placing our right hand to the hip might feel nice. We can also reach that right arm to the ceiling with the palm facing forward. The head should be an extension of the spine. So try not to let the head droop. Keep it strong. Pull into that low belly. And we're to the instep of the right foot. Now we're going to hold and breathe in this pose. We're really having to pull up through our left side, press the ground away from you. Nice, strong, powerful pose. If we want a little bit more today, start to engage the right side body and hover the right leg parallel to the floor. This is going to turn into more of a balancing pose. Keep breathing. One more inhale. On the exhale, if our right foot is hovering, drop it back down to the instep. We're going to take one more stretch here. We're going to take our right arm over our ear, palm facing down towards the ground. You should still feel like you're leaning against an invisible wall, so we're in this lateral plane. Good. Big stretch, I know. Inhale that right arm up. Now we're going to unwind out of the pose, same way we went into it. So look down. Exhale, start to bring the right hand down, square the hips. We'll drop the right knee down and bring the left foot in. So we should end up back in our tabletop pose. If you need to rise up on those fingertips and Hasta Bandha to give your left wrist a break, or make strong fists and punch to the ground, we may. And then we're going to take our body in and out of cat-cow just to make sure everything is back where it should be. Inhaling to our gentle back bend, sway the back. Exhale, scoop, tuck, and round. Coming back to neutral. So we're going to do all that stuff on the other side. We already know the math. Doesn't mean it's going to be any easier, but might just feel a little bit more normal. Flatten out the palms. Right arm is strong. Tuck the toes under. Kickstand the right foot off to the long edge of the mat. That's going to help with the balancing part. Press into the earth. Slide the left foot straight back from the hip. Toes are tucked under. If it feels more comfortable in the right foot, flatten it out. Now press into the ground with the right hand. Start to take weight off the left hand. Now you're rolling your hips up. Left hip is coming on top of the right hip. We're coming to the instep of the left foot. Shoulders are stacking. Left arm to hip, hand to hip, or reach the left arm straight up to the ceiling. And the palm should be facing forward. Right knee is still stacked right underneath the hip, right hand underneath the shoulder. Lean against that invisible wall. The neck needs to stay long, so try to avoid letting the weight of the head collapse. From here, if we want a little bit more, tighten and squeeze the left side to hover the left leg parallel to the floor. So this is a modification for another pose called Ardha Chandrasana or half moon pose. Really want you to feel this position right now in your body, especially this left leg that's hovering parallel to the floor and actively flexing, because we are going to try to revisit this in another shape and form later. Big breath in. On the exhale, let's bring the left foot down to the instep and bring the left arm over the ear, palm down. Big lateral stretch. Keep pushing into the ground through the right arm. Big breath in, reach it up, and exhale, unwind. Look down, left hand down. Got to neutralize the hips. Bring the knees and the feet back to tabletop. Fingertips, fists for rest. Take a cat and a cow. Coming back to neutral position. Spread the fingers wide. Walk the hands about 1 hand's distance forward. Tuck the toes under. Draw that low belly in. And we're going to push ourselves up and back for our first, maybe first, Adho Mukha Svanasana, at least of this class. Child's pose or tabletop is always a modification to revisit. So downward facing dog. Parallel those feet. Try to point the toes straight forward. Start with a little bend to the knees if that's better for our back today. Ground through the mound of the index finger and thumb, rolling those upper arm bones away from the ears. The neck is free and long and the head is floating. Now continue to draw the belly in, pressing those thighs back. Let's all inhale and lift our heels up as high as we can. On the exhale, drop the right heel to the ground and bend your left knee to give the back of the right leg a big stretch, opening up the eye of the knee. Inhale, heels up. Exhale, sink the left heel down, bend the right knee, opening up the back of the left leg. Inhale, heels up. Exhale, sinking both heels towards the floor, whether they touch or not, doesn't matter. Just enjoy this nice big stretch for the whole body. We're going to do some rolling forward as we've done in the past from plank to down dog. So the next inhale, lift your heels up, roll through the spine so that we move forward into plank position, bringing our shoulders over our wrists and the crown of the head forward. Now you might need to slide your feet slightly back. You're always welcome to drop down to your knees in kneeling plank. Just avoid collapsing the spine. Now exhale, tuck the chin, pull the belly in, poof up the back of the heart, roll down the spine, through the hips, down the backs of the legs to the heels, down dog. We're like a wave in the ocean. Move through the whole body. Inhale, heels up, hips up, roll through the spine. The head is the very last thing that extends forward into our strong, powerful plank. Exhale, tuck the chin, poof up the back of the heart, roll through the spine, all the way up the hips, down the legs to the heels. One more flowing plank pose. We should meet back in downward facing dog when we get there. Take a breath. And then inhale, look forward. Baby step feet to hands, hands to feet. So we have been in an inversion. If we want to continue to be upside down in Uttanasana, we may. If we modify our forward folds, knees are bent, elbows or hands to our thighs, or simply come up to mountain pose and work on your posture there. My forward fold people, you may also ragdoll, hands to elbows, or just try to release the neck and shoulders. Our legs should be strong and powerful. Our lower bandhas can really support us here. So if you squeeze and lift up through the perineum muscles of the pelvic floor and those lower abdominal muscles. On our next inhale, we are going to do a little bit of our back strengthening. So I want our hands to our shins. If you're in the modified version, hands to thighs. Lift the chest, inhale, squeeze the upper back, improving our posture. Look slightly forward. Good. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Squeeze the back. Pull the shoulder blades down the back. Level out that back. Beautiful. Some of you are adding the arms. I love it. Exhale, fold. If we haven't added the arms and we feel like we have the ability to this morning, inhale, halfway lift. You locust the arms straight beside the torso, palms facing each other. You'll feel that in the triceps. Exhale, fold. One more. Big breath in. Tone, lift, and strengthen. Shalabhasa those arms if you want it. Exhale, bend the knees, sit back into that invisible chair. Sweep the arms forward and up into Utkatasana. Now we are going to hang out here for a moment. Powerful, fierce pose. Sink into the four corners of the feet. Draw the belly in. Tension in neck and shoulders. You're always welcome to have your hands in Anjali Mudra in front of the heart. And then we'll play with a little bit of our balance. So from here, let's hover our right foot from the floor and see what happens today. Exhale, drop it down. Squeeze, lift that left foot from the floor, a little hover. Good. Focus your drishti on one spot. That'll help with your balance. Exhale, sink down, knees to toes. Inhale, reach everything up, straighten the legs. Fingertips to the ceiling, drishti upwards, a little bit of extension. Turn your palms out. Exhale, arms float down. Pause in Tadasana, mountain pose. So the fingertips are extending away from the shoulders. The legs are strong. Unlock the knees, pulling that front body to the back body. Lengthen the low back down towards the heels. Let the heart open. Let the head float on the shoulders. No tension in the face. Turn the palms out. Inhale, reach those arms up. Add the heels. So lift your heels up towards the ceiling in our palm tree pose. Join the palms together. Exhale, try to slowly lower the heels and the hands to the heart. Two more. Inhale, reach it up. Strengthen and toning the feet, the ankles. Exhale, lower. One more. And exhale. We'll meet back down here in center. So we're going to move into some of our standing poses today. And we might need to rearrange ourselves so that we're facing the long edge of our yoga mat. When we get there, we will take our big step open, nice and wide. Now, you can have props here. So if you have your yoga blocks, you can place your blocks to the short ends of your mat so that they're in reach. If you want to use a chair, you can. What I'm going to move us into is unsupported triangle pose so that we maintain our core stability. Virabhadrasana 2 into extended side angle. I'll kind of go all through that. And then we are going to practice Ardha Chandrasana. So this is a big, powerful pose. And what I want you to do right now is just watch me for a second. We're not there yet, but it does help when we practice these poses if we have a visual and we can see it. So this is eventually what the pose will look like. You'll be using a prop if you want it. And I'm just going to do a little cheat and use the wall. So this is going to mimic that pose we did earlier when we had the knee under the hip. And you'll notice that this leg is super active and straight and the foot is flexing. And I'm still trying to lean against a wall. This can even come into an unsupported version. All right. I haven't done that pose in a while, but thought we'd get into it. So I just wanted you to have that visual of what it might look like and where your props would be if we had to use them. So let that go for a moment. We kind of got our brain just thinking about it. Open up to your wide stance. So in our neutral wide stance, we want our feet almost as wide as our ankles. They're parallel to each other to begin, toes pointing forward. Release the shoulders from the ears so the neck is long and relaxed. Pick up the right toes, pivot on the heel, pointing them forward to the front of the mat. Make sure that this leg is straight and strong and we're not collapsing into our knee. Heart and hips should still be open. Utthita Trikonasana, a little tip in the pelvis. So I'm kind of sassing my left hip out a little bit. Inhale, I'm going to reach towards my right toes. Side body should stay even and long, and then it's just a windmill of the arms. Now, some of you might want to go a little bit further to get a deeper stretch, but I really encourage you to try to not round and collapse your right side to get any further. And especially us low back people, really maintaining the structure of the core in the long run could be a little bit more beneficial. Now, if you have a yoga block that you'd like to place your fingertips towards or a chair, by all means do so. Draw the left shoulder back. The neck is long. Maintain the weight of the head. Now the drishti might be down and your knee should be pointing towards the middle of the foot. Drishti might be straight forward or even upwards towards that top thumb. Good. Nice options. I like the variations. Four corners of both feet should be engaged. Observe and notice the breath. Take one more breath. So the inhale is what brings us back out of the pose. So we need to reach it up, parallel the arms. Point the right toes straight forward. We're in neutral position. If you are moving props around, carefully bend your knees and do so mindfully. Pick up the left toes. Open the foot. Hips and shoulders should still be facing the long edge of the mat. Unlock the knee. It's straight and strong. Little tip in the pelvis. Sassy that right hip back. Pull the left hip crease in. Lengthen both side bodies. Inhale, reaching over the toes. Exhale, just a windmill of the arms. So the straight line should still be running up the length of the spine to the crown of the head, like we have a rod. Imagine that moving. So the rod isn't bending and collapsing. It's not twisting and turning. It stays long and extended. Unsupported maintains the core strength. If you do want to incorporate a prop, you're more than welcome to, but try to keep the legs, abdominals strong. If you turn your drishti down, try not to collapse the heart down, but that's a good opportunity to see if your knee is pointing to the center of the feet. If it's not, actively pull up from the outer knee to outer hip a little bit more. If the hand is to the inside of the thigh, we can use that as a little bit of leverage, gazing forward or even upwards. Equal weight in both feet and in the four corners of the feet. Observe the breath. One more breath. On the inhale, that's what reaches us up. Reach your right fingertips to the ceiling, parallel the arms. Exhale, point the left toes forward, neutral position, and drop those arms. Take a break. It's a lot of work. Swim your shoulders a little bit. So now we're going to move into Virabhadrasana 2 and do a little bit of movement and then into that half moon balance pose. So feet should still be parallel to each other. Inhale, arms up. Pick up the right toes, point them to the short end of the yoga mat. Hips and shoulders are still open to the long edge of the mat. On the exhale, just bend the right knee over the ankle. So don't try to lean forward or backwards. You're dropping your hips straight down. Good. Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Drishti over those right fingertips. Just pause and breathe here. Look down. You should be able to see your big toe. So if you need to walk the right foot forward a little bit, or inward, I should say, you can do so. Turn the palms up. Inhale, drop the left arm down. Reach the right arm up to reverse warrior. On the exhale, bend the right elbow. Bring the forearm on top of the thigh. Reach that left arm over the ear. We're back in this long side stretch. Upavishta Parshva Konasana. Uttita Parshva Konasana, excuse me. Inhale, bring the left arm down, right arm up. Extended side angle. We're in reverse warrior. Exhale, hinge, extended side angle. Try to keep that nice long line, that rod through the body. One more time with the breath. Inhale, reach back and up, reverse warrior. We keep the lunge in the knee. Exhale, tip and hinge. This next inhale will bring us back to reverse warrior. Reach up, gaze upwards. Exhale, warrior two. I'm going to give us a break on this side. So we're going to straighten the leg, turn the right toes forward, neutral position. And then pick up those left toes, pivot on the heel. Keep your hips and shoulders open to the long edge of the mat. Exhale, bend the left knee over ankle. Warrior two pose. Spine stays stacked, shoulders over hips. Gaze over the left fingertips. So your left knee should be bent into a lunge. And a nice wide stance in the feet, as wide as you can take it. Make sure you can see your big toe. Actively pull from the outer knee to outer hip as needed. Turn the palms up. Inhale, drop the right arm down, left arm up, reverse warrior. Keep the lunge in the knee. Exhale, bend the left elbow, forearm to thigh. Right arm reaches over the ear into this lateral plane, Uttita Parshva Konasana. Inhale, got to use those muscles. Use your strong legs and core. Bring it all the way back and up into reverse warrior. Exhale, move in that lateral plane, back down and over, extended side angle. One more round with that breath. Good. After our last extended side angle, one more inhale to reverse warrior, back and up. And then exhale, Virabhadrasana 2. Inhale, straightens the leg. Exhale, turn the toes forward, drop the arms, take a break. All right, now time for our balancing pose. This is a challenging balancing pose. We need some space around us. So if you have any weird obstacles, you might want to move them out of the way. If you have a block, you may have your block handy. Do not have my block today, but I can improvise with a book. I'm gonna use my little meditation cushion there as a little bit of a guide. So if you have 2 blocks, you can have them to the short ends of the yoga mat. If you have 1 block, you can start it there. And it's going to want to be slightly forward because we do need to turn our toes out. So same thing, we're going to open the arms out nice and wide. Pivot on the right heel, so pick up the right toes, point them forward. Now I usually like to start my half moon from like a semi-warrior 2 pose. I might not be as deep in it, I might be a little bit more buoyant. So I want you to be a little bit buoyant, have some movement here. So bring the left hand to the hip, take it out of the equation, we're not gonna worry about it. You're gonna look down to the floor in front of your toes or towards your prop. From there, I'm gonna bring the hand, I'm gonna reach towards my target. I'm looking at it. Now bring your back foot, your left foot slightly in towards you. Squeeze your left side. You can adjust your prop as needed so it comes back underneath your shoulder or your fingertips. And then you squeeze that left side to hover the leg. A little close to my wall here. Parallel to the floor. This is a really strong pose. Press the right leg into the ground. Now, if that leg doesn't come up today, that's okay. If it is parallel to the floor, flex that foot. If we fall out of it, we fall out of it. Good, there you go, good job. Keep working for it. Maybe the left arm reaches up to the ceiling. We're just gonna take one more breath in. Now to come out on the exhale, we try to release as gracefully as possible. Back to warrior 2 pose. See what happens. Good job, you guys. Inhale, straighten the right leg. Exhale, turn the toes forward. Drop the arms down, let it go for a moment. Just kind of, all right, that worked. Some things worked, some things didn't. Doesn't matter. That's not what the practice is about. If you're switching your props carefully, you can pick up your blocks, move them to the other side. So again, that prop needs to be a little bit more forward in front of your foot. Inhale those arms out. Pick up your left toes, turn them out. Exhale, lunge into the knee. So, but you're buoyant here. We're not stuck in cement. So I want you to feel like you can kind of move around a little bit. The right hand comes to the hip. We look down, we find our target. The fingertips reach and point towards that target. Now I take my back foot and I kind of step it in a little bit so I'm on my tippy toes. And again, I have a wall here to run into. So I'm going to squeeze my right buttock, glute, and side body and start to lift my right foot from the floor. And if you do have a prop that you're using, try to just have your fingertips onto the prop. Don't worry about it if you fall out of it. And you want your hand to be right underneath that left shoulder. The left leg super strong, right leg just as strong. Flex the foot. If it's an option, that right arm reaches up to the ceiling, palm faces forward. Good job. I love seeing the effort. Woo! Keep breathing. Big breath in. On the exhale, as gracefully as possible, we try to come back to warrior two. Awesome. Some of you did really great. Inhale, straighten the left leg. We all did great. Turn those toes forward. Exhale, let it go. All right, that's a fun pose, a very challenging pose. Like I said, I haven't done it in a while, so if you're in my camp and kind of falling all over the place, that's great. Let me show you a fun, quick little trick, because if you want to do this and practice this later today, if you have a space in your house where you have kind of an open wall, and I'm not here, but let's see what happens. You can practice this up against a wall. It'll really help build up your muscle memory. You would bring one hip to the wall, that foot is pointing forward. I'll kind of move around all my stuff I got here. What's that? And then you just kind of lean into the wall, bringing the hips, that back heel, the shoulders, and the back of the head. So I'm kind of Velcro to the wall, and it feels quite nice. And you can have your yoga block under the fingertips. And with the support of the wall, you can almost feel like you could hang out for some time. That's a nice way to breathe or find that awareness. Better if you have an open space. All right, y'all, good job. Let's come back to Tadasana at the top of our yoga mat. Clear your space. Reach the fingertips down slightly away from the body. Stand nice and tall, float the head on the shoulders. Fix the drishti on one spot and simply take a breath in and out through the nose. Next inhale turns the palms out, reaches all the way up to the ceiling, drishti to thumbs for a gentle back bend. On the exhale, bend your knees slightly, hinge from those hips, sweeping the arms back around and down into whatever version of forward fold we take. So go gently. If we want to release all the way down to Uttanasana, you're welcome to do so. Continue to pull the belly in, release the head, the neck, and the shoulders. Next inhale lifts us into our halfway lift. Hands to shins or higher. Squeeze that upper back. On this exhale, bend your knees. Plant the hands. Big step back to plank position. So we got one more powerful pose we're going to practice today. We will either repeat our modified side plank that we did or Vasisthasana side plank position. And I think I approached this pose last class. So the modification, let's drop our right knee down first, right underneath our hip, kickstand the foot out, press into the right hand, come to the instep of the left foot, and reach the left arm up. We already did this pose today. That's the modification. If you'd like to practice Vasisthasana, bring the insides of the feet to touch down the middle of the mat. Roll to the outside of the right foot. The feet can be stacked. Lift your hips up. Press the ground away from you, left arm up, side plank position. The neck should be in line with the spine. Nice big breath in. Exhale, look down, we unwind. Everybody moves back to center. If your knee is down, you can go back to tabletop if you want. Other side, drop the left knee down under the hip, kickstand the foot, roll onto your left knee, left hand, reach the right arm up for the modified version. Or glue the insides of the feet and legs together, roll to the outside of the left foot, lift those hips up, reach that right arm up. Keep the head in line with the spine. Big breath in. Exhale, we'll all release. Plank or tabletop or kneeling plank. Breathe it in. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a breath. Inhale, heels up. And on this exhale, let's take it back down to the ground. Drop the knees. We can keep the knees together for traditional child's pose. Sweeping our hands all the way to the feet to come off of our wrists. Dropping the head and the weight of the shoulders towards the ground. Pause and breathe here. Hands under shoulders, tuck the chin. Inhale, round it up, sitting back on the heels. Once we're back upright, good. Just drop your hips over to either side and sweep those feet forward. So I'd like us to do one more gentle. We're going to start to kind of slow things down. We did a lot of powerful stuff, so let's start to slow things down as we move towards the end of our practice. One more little gentle flowing movement here for the sides. This is called deer pose. I think it's a variation of. One thing, you'll either want to be on the scoot yourself back. We're going to have to rearrange ourselves again. So that what's happening is we're either on facing the long edge of our yoga mat with our knees forward, or we have some sort of blanket, because this will put a little bit of pressure on our knees. So what happens is, if you had your feet nice and wide like so, we bring our left foot out to the side of our hip and our right foot into our inner thigh. So my knees are up, I'm dropping them down, and I'm still facing forward. So it looks like we're all there. And just for right and left purposes, we should have our right foot in front of us and our left foot out to the side. The distance of how far that foot is in or out kind of just depends on our flexibility. Now, if it's really hard to be here because of tight hips or knees, you can still sit up on a little bit of support. It won't really pay too much of an effect in a second, but if that feels better, you can. So we'll bring our right hand to the ground near the hip. I'll do the modification first. We'll just simply inhale and reach the left arm over our ear. So again, I'm getting this nice long stretch up through the hip. Maybe now that left sit bone comes up off the ground a little bit. And then on the exhale, I bring the hand down. Now, if we want a little bit more, weight is going to come into that right wrist again. I'm going to inhale, reach up, and I'm going to lift my hips up. So here's where that weight comes onto the knees, why you want to be either on the whole part of your yoga mat, carpeting, or a blanket. So big stretch that whole left side. Exhale, you lower. So if that's not compromising your knees or your low back, we'll do two more. Inhaling, reaching. Now here I can let my arm fall back. I can let the head gently fall back to get that extension. One more. I can even look down towards the ground to get a little bit more from my shoulder. Exhale. When we sit back down, when we get there, we can bring our fingertips behind the hips and carefully step the right foot out and the left foot out. And then just do a little rock side to side here. So let's try it on the other side. So our right foot, you can lean, comes behind us, the knees pointing out at an angle. Left foot comes in towards us, and it doesn't really matter where it's at exactly. We just want our knees to be safe And I'm tight on this side, so I'm kind of pulled up out of balance. So maybe I'll take my lower setting of my cushion. Ah, that feels better. Now my hips are level. Again, this foot, wherever is most comfortable for the knee. Left fingertips outside of the hip. Keep your hips down for this one. Just see how it feels. Inhale that right arm up and over. Big stretch. Exhale down. Continue with that modification. If it's okay on your knees, inhale, press into the ground through the left arm. Hips lift up, big stretch over. Exhale. And you can also play with that little bit of movement. So on the next one, maybe look up, bring the right arm slightly back and up, more extension, heart opening. Exhaling. And if we hold tension in the back and the shoulders when we lift up, you can look down to your left hand and reach over to stretch the upper back. And exhale. And after that last one, same thing. Try to bring the fingertips behind the body so that you can lean back to safely bring the feet out one at a time. Just a little rock here. All right, we've done a lot today. Let's adjust ourselves in our space one more time so that we're sitting towards the middle of our mat. We want space behind us to be able to come down onto our backs. We're welcome to walk yourself down safely. If you want to do our roll down, we plant the soles of the feet, the knees are wide. We reach the fingertips forward. We squeeze those abdominal muscles and we try to lower down nice and slowly, vertebra by vertebra. We'll all meet on our backs. Let's straighten the legs out down the middle of our mat. Re-extend those arms up to the ceiling and overhead. Long body stretch. Point and flex the feet a couple times. Inhale, spread the fingers, spread the toes, pull the toes to the shin bone. Exhale, float those arms down, draw the shoulder blades under, walk the feet in. Pulling the belly in to hug the knees in. So we have a little bit of time here. I'm gonna offer you all this time to maybe do another posture if you like, to get yourself set up in a Shavasana. So if you want to do a little bit more hip stuff, maybe a happy baby would feel good. Reaching for the toes, the soles of the feet, dropping the knees wide into the armpits. Maybe another gentle inversion in waterfall pose or wide-legged. Or twists are really nice ways to finish the practice to help release the muscles down the back. So if you're choosing to take a spinal twist today, just remember to keep the feet parallel to each other, knees ideally together, arms from the shoulders. If the knees don't easily touch the ground, you'll slide props underneath there. The head can turn the opposite direction. So taking the next minute or two to explore whatever the body might want to explore. That might be gathering up props or moving yourself to a wall for legs up the wall, or some type of supported final relaxation. Good, so those of us still moving around and getting our body ready for final relaxation, go ahead and balance yourself out the next minute or so. And we'll all gradually end up in the place that we're going to want to rest to absorb our practice and all the benefits of our practice from today. Feel free to finish where you started, lying flat to the floor, or like I said, you're always welcome to do a legs up the wall pose or any other restorative supported version to finish class in. So take pillows underneath the legs as needed, behind the head, lie down, loosen up the clothing. Put a little effort into this pose. We want to make sure that we're nice and symmetrical as much as possible, side to side. Roll those arms open. A little bit of space between the arms and the side bodies. Palms face up, fingertips curl up naturally. If we're in a Shavasana, maybe we want to open the legs a little wider, letting the feet flop open. Sliding the shoulders down, out, or under. The head can rock side to side a couple times, finding the very back center of our skull. Poofing the cheeks up with air, swallowing a couple times to help relax the face, the mouth, tongue, and jaw. Once we're in the pose, eyes are closed, we press that pause button, cultivating stillness. When the body becomes still and quiet, the breath follows, and the breath becomes very calm, quiet, almost still. And when the breathing becomes calm, peaceful, and quiet, the mind eventually follows. And we start to feel this calmness and stillness from within as it spreads through the whole body, the breath. If the mind wanders away or becomes distracted, gently bring it back to the peaceful breath. Giving ourselves permission to relax, to let go, and to sink into Shavasana. So we'll slowly come back to the rhythm of our breath. We'll start to breathe life gently back out into the body, waking up the toes, the fingertips, a rock of the head, roll the wrists and the ankles. Next breath in, let's reach those arms overhead one more time. Long body stretch. Go ahead and stretch out that right side a little bit longer. Stretch out that left side. And then one big breath in to spread the fingers and the toes and create as much space as we can from the inside out. Next exhale, floats those arms down. Step the feet in. Draw the belly in to hug the knees in. Massage the back side to side. We'll bring the right arm beside the head. Roll and pause on our right side for a moment, sleeping baby pose. Maybe mentally making a dedication, intention, or mantra to take with us today off of our mat into our daily lives. Keeping those eyes soft or closed, press into the ground. We will bring our bodies up and revisit any comfortable seated position. Finding both sit bones, sitting up as tall as possible. Being mindful of our surroundings. Let's float the fingertips back out beside the body. Turn the palms up. Inhale, reach those arms all the way up to the ceiling and gather up everything we need for the rest of this day. Turn the palms out, even bigger breath out. Float the fingertips all the way back down to the ground, letting go of all that other junk we do not need today. And again, inhale, arms reach up. This time the palms touch. Exhale, hands to Anjali Mudra in front of the heart. Humbly bow the head down to the heart to honor and thank ourselves, our bodies, each other, and anyone else that makes it possible for us to practice our yoga together. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Peace, peace, peace.